Hey, welcome back to the Law and Crime Network. My name is Bob Bianchi. I'll be here from 12 to 3, and we're going to get right to my favorite segment, Top Crime Stories, coming at you.
Here are today's top crime stories trending on lawandcrime.com and across the country. A 15-year-old in Missouri, who authorities believe killed her parents in their Kansas City home earlier this year, reportedly wrote violent rap lyrics related to killing her parents, as well as creating violent cartoons prior to the killings. Dejana Holmes is accused of killing her parents, 37-year-old Kinderly Holmes and 38-year-old Brian Starr, on April 9th. Holmes initially claimed there was a violent robbery at her home and then changed her story, saying she shot her father after seeing him shoot her mother. Holmes is expected to be charged as an adult with second-degree murder and other charges. Authorities in Florida have arrested a fourth man believed to be involved in the fatal shooting of controversial up-and-coming rapper XXXTentacion. 20-year-old Trayvon Newsom is facing first-degree murder and robbery charges in connection with the shooting of XXXTentacion, whose real name is José Onfroy. Onfroy was shot after leaving a motorcycle dealership in South Florida and was pronounced dead at a local hospital. Videos were posted to social media showing the slain rapper slumped over in his car. Onfroy rose to fame as a breakthrough rap artist on the music site SoundCloud before allegations of domestic violence came to light. He faced 15 felony charges, including aggravated battery of a pregnant woman at the time of his death. Authorities received a little help with corralling a suspect in Florida when a herd of cows chased her down. In police helicopter video, the suspect, Jennifer Ann Kaufman, can be seen fleeing a vehicle during a chase and running into a pasture. That's when the cattle cavalry moved in to assist the police pursuit.
If you see the large group of cows, they're literally following her.
Kaufman was eventually arrested and is facing charges of resisting an officer and drug possession. Those were today's top crime stories. I'm Anthony Velez for Law and Crime.
Wow, I love those little vignettes on the Law and Crime story and the top crime stories. And we have Jennifer Schuster with us. She's an attorney out of Chicago. Jennifer, how you doing?
Good, Bob. How are you?
Okay, I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to have you. Welcome. I got to talk about these cows. Right? You're having bad luck as a defendant. Not only when you've got the police chasing after you, but you got a pack of cows that usually run away from people that actually running after the guy. And I love the way he just looked exhausted and just collapsed.
Yeah, it's pretty comical watching this, Bob. Talk about a bad break for the defendant. She gets out, she takes off on foot and runs into these cows, of all things, in Florida. It's just amazing, utterly amazing, no pun intended, that the lengths defendants will go or criminals will go to get away from the cops.
Yeah, listen, I'm a city kid, so I would much prefer, in my mind, having a bunch of guys with guns running after me than a bunch of wild cows. I don't know why. That sounds like a freaky thing. I think it would be a life-altering thing for a guy like me from Jersey. How about, in Chicago,
Yeah.
It's got to be the same way.
Yeah, definitely, Bob. I'm on the same page. Not a lot of cows around Chicago.
You know what? As a prosecutor, I may even got a little mitigation there. I may take a year or two off the sentence because I feel bad he went through that. But hey, listen, we're right now, Jennifer. We're looking at this Leon Jacobs trial. It's another one of those cases. I can't wait to break it down with you and with our viewers, and especially those who are in the chat room. I love listening to their comments. If you have any, bring them out there because I find this kind of case to be really disturbing. A loved one, a trusted one, is actually hiring a hit person to go out there, and for a little bit of money, you could get killed. And there's a trial with that going on right now with Leon Jacobs. And we're going to go right now to the testimony of Laura Thurlow, who is involved in this whole scenario. And we're going to come back with you, Jennifer, on the other end and break this case down. Well, Jennifer Schuster, I know you're still with us out there in Chicago, and I hope the weather is a little bit better than it is here in New York, because it is bad, humid, and hot. And boy, it's getting hot in that courtroom when we have this paralegal who is basically, their firm was representing Mr. Jacobs, and then these crazy conversations start with the paralegal to do harm to the victim, and then the defense attorney on cross-examination there was doing an interesting thing. Hey, he was trying to get her back. He wasn't trying to murder her. Do you think that's effective so far?
Yeah, he's trying to make the point that he never used the word kill or harm. But, I mean, call me old-fashioned. I don't think it's a way to a girl's heart to kidnap her, inject her with a syringe, and then talk to her about getting back together. So no, to that end, I don't think it's effective.
Right, and the interesting thing here is obviously the co-conspirator is no longer with us because she decided to end her court case by jumping off a building and killing herself. But the defense in this case is, hey, I don't know what she was doing, the one who killed herself, my co-conspirator, but I certainly wasn't trying to harm her. So I think this is what a defense attorney would do to cross-examine her. Not a great guy, but an effective legal cross.
Yeah, it can be. Like you said, the would-be co-defendant isn't here. I don't know if strategically that's the best approach to blame the person who's not here to be able to speak on her own behalf, but it's what they're doing in this case.
Right. Well, listen, we're here with Jennifer Schuster on the Law and Crime Network. This is, Jennifer, you know this. This network is gavel-to-gavel coverage. You've got to love the trials that these folks put together for us to be able to debate and have great experts like you. And, of course, like with every network, we have to go, make sure we go to a break, and on the other end of that, we'll come back with some more fascinating analysis. See, I told you we'd be back. Here we are, Law and Crime Network, gavel-to-gavel coverage on this Leon Jacobs trial. Dan Abrams production. Love being with you guys. I'll be here with you from 12 to 3. And our special guest here, Jennifer Schuster from Chicago, is joining us. And we were just talking, Jennifer, about this paralegal who's on the witness stand, who the defendant was approaching with the ideas of doing some level of harm. And we have the cross-examination of the defense attorney. We just watched part of that clip where he's basically saying, yeah, well, he may want to syringe her and as you say, not necessarily being very gentlemanly, bring her back to him, but not murder. Let's go back to some more cross and talk to Jennifer on the other end. Well, there you go, paralegal. It clearly looks like there's a place she does not want to be. She's used to helping people out in cases rather than actually being a person who is on the witness stand. This is the Leon Jones case. I have Jennifer Schuster with me from Leon Jacobs. I apologize. Jennifer, so he's doing this cross, kind of like a country guy, going slow, easygoing, likable, affable attorney on the cross-examination, making the right points. But is it enough given all the other evidence the prosecution has brought out in this case?
It's going to be tough for the defense here. The crux of their position is that the request was never made, that Leon Jacob never said, I want my ex-girlfriend killed. I don't want to harm Megan, in fact. They say that he said many things to the contrary, saying that he just wanted her to go away. He didn't want her killed. He didn't want her harmed. But we're hearing from this witness about how he did propose that she was kidnapped, that she was injected with a syringe. And that's just not believable, that he didn't want her harmed, but he was suggesting doing those things.
Yeah, and we'll get back to the idea that, here are two people that are allegedly getting together, co-conspiring to, kill their exes, one a girlfriend, one a husband. And it's just really a dramatic kind of case, really sad. And I think the defense attorney's got a hard job. But we're going to come back, Jennifer. We're going to take a real quick break, and on the other end of it, we got a fascinating story I'll be very interested in your opinion on. See you soon. Well, welcome back. We are in the Leon Jacobs case. It's really a fascinating case. I've got Jennifer Schuster with us from Chicago. This is one of the victims was the ex-girlfriend of Mr. Jacobs. Her name was Valerie Veritas. Yikes. Jennifer, can you imagine in your life, whomever you've chosen to love, to ask for support and a mutual understanding of respect for one another, to find out that that person not only is betraying you, but trying to get somebody to actually gratuitously kill you? How would that make you feel?
Right. Betrayed, terrified, to say the least. Talk about the ultimate betrayal here. In this case, I'm sure Megan was stunned when she found out that there was this murder or plot to kill her in the works. But keep in mind, there were lots of things leading up to this point. We know that Leon Jacob was charged with assault and stalking Megan. He had contacted her so many times, trying to get back together with her, contacting her friends and her family. So although I'm sure that this was absolutely shocking to her. It sort of was consistent with what she saw in him leading up to this.
Yeah, so listen, it's great testimony from the standpoint of a legal case and certainly a compelling witness for the prosecution. Let's take a look at it, talk about it on the other end. I'm with Jennifer Schuster, ESQ, out of Chicago. Jennifer, we got about a minute and a half, and I think it's really important listening to this poor woman's testimony. I've always said, and our audience knows it well, is when I was the head prosecutor, or even when I was in homicide as an assistant prosecutor, today's domestic violence is tomorrow's homicide case. We're dealing with the prototypical domestic violence control profile here, and this woman is doing everything she can to get orders of protection from the court and get the police intervention, and some of these guys just don't quit.
Yeah, that's right. We're listening to how this woman went through all the proper channels. She got the emergency order of protection, then they went back for the hearing on the plenary order. She got that as well. There were charges filed, and still the defendant here will stop at nothing to go after this woman. She was clearly fearful of her life. She had every reason to be fearful of her life, as we now know. And really what the state is doing here is so incredibly damaging to this defendant. We're hearing firsthand from an ex-girlfriend about how incredibly aggressive and obsessive this defendant was.
Excellent points. And we're going to talk about this. We're going to go to a quick break, but I want to come back with you on the other end to talk to you exactly about how compelling the state's testimony really is. It's not only about law and crime. It's also about negotiation. Negotiating with your producer. Begging the producer to let me talk about this cow story one more time, and they told me if I pitch quickly to the top crime stories, she's going to accommodate me. Let's go to it.
Here are today's top crime stories trending on Law&Crime.com and across the country. A 15-year-old in Missouri, who authorities believe killed her parents in their Kansas City home earlier this year, reportedly wrote violent rap lyrics related to killing her parents, as well as creating violent cartoons prior to the killings. Dejana Holmes is accused of killing her parents, 37-year-old Kinderly Holmes and 38-year-old Brian Starr, on April 9th. Holmes initially claimed there was a violent robbery at her home and then changed her story, saying she shot her father after seeing him shoot her mother. Holmes is expected to be charged as an adult with second-degree murder and other charges. Authorities in Florida have arrested a fourth man believed to be involved in the fatal shooting of controversial up-and-coming rapper XXXTentacion. 20-year-old Trayvon Newsom is facing first-degree murder and robbery charges in connection with the shooting of XXXTentacion, whose real name is José Onfroy. Onfroy was shot after leaving a motorcycle dealership in South Florida and was pronounced dead at a local hospital. Videos were posted to social media showing the slain rapper slumped over in his car. Onfroy rose to fame as a breakthrough rap artist on the music site SoundCloud before allegations of domestic violence came to light. He faced 15 felony charges, including aggravated battery of a pregnant woman at the time of his death. Authorities received a little help with corralling a suspect in Florida when a herd of cows chased her down. In police helicopter video, the suspect, Jennifer Ann Kaufman, can be seen fleeing a vehicle during a chase and running into a pasture. That's when the cattle cavalry moved in to assist the police pursuit.
If you see the large group of cows, they're literally following her.
Kaufman was eventually arrested and is facing charges of resisting an officer and drug possession. Those were today's top crime stories. I'm Anthony Velez for Law and Crime.
You know, I don't know, maybe it's a mental thing with me or whatever. Jennifer, this cow story, I can't get out of my head. When I saw that we were going to be doing this today, I honestly think it could be one of the funniest videos in the law sector that I've ever seen. And, you know, here she is hoofing it. There they are hoofing it. You know, no pun intended. You used the pun before. Look at this lady. I mean, she's running from the cops. She's running from the cows. These cows are not letting it up. These cows should be in front of the city council getting an award for assisting the police in her capture. What do you think?
Yeah, look at them. I mean, they're really going after her. Like, they've got a job to do. They're focused. I mean, she's not escaping there. And I think, yeah, you're right. This probably is in at least the top 10 of funniest criminal videos.
And here we see, we're watching it on the set, and she just like basically gives up, and there the cops come, and you got the cops, you got the cows. I mean, it is just amazing to me. And I'm thinking, because she was apparently being chased by the cops, there was some drug-related charge. I hope to God she wasn't on any kind of psychedelics, because whatever mind-altering substance she may have been on, seeing a pile of cows, maybe she didn't even believe she's being chased by cows.
Right. Maybe it was just part of what she thought was the hallucination.
Yeah, it's all part of like, wow, man, this stuff's great. Hey, listen. We deal with law, we deal with crime, we deal with a lot of serious subjects. Aaron Keller, Jennifer, and I think that you know Aaron, like he likes to, bait me a little bit about my mozzarella cheese to gravy recipe for my pizza, trying to get to the secrets of my lentil soup. But you know what? In the Law and Crime Network, it's like a soup. We got some law, we got some crime, we got some mayhem, but we got to also have a good time, too, and have a little humor, don't you think?
That's right. That's what makes it so awesome.
Yeah, and that's why I love this clip. And I want to thank our producer personally, Virginia. Thank you so much for allowing me to play this again. Guys, if you're online, love to see you chatting. Tell your friends, tell your family about the Law and Crime Network, because only here can you get murder, mayhem, and cows chasing a suspect and corralling them for the police. And so we're going to, just real quick, Jennifer, I want to go back to a serious topic now. This victim testifying. We talked before about how the orders of protection sometimes just don't work with some guys that just don't get it. And you worry, and we did as prosecutors, when there was a murder case, we would always run down to that family law section of our office and say, gosh, did we have a file in the office, gave a defendant a break, and then the person went out and murdered the person. And you see, thankfully, the plot was foiled here.
Right, thankfully, but it was awfully close. Now, Megan testified about how she got the plenary order of protection, which is supposed to provide the victim with the ability to just pick up the phone, call 911, and say, listen, the perpetrator here has contacted me, and the cops are supposed to come in right away and do something, apprehend the perpetrator. But when you have somebody who is so obsessed and so focused and will stop at nothing or almost nothing to harm the victim, there's really little you can do. And luckily, in this instance, it was a sting, and Megan was spared.
Yeah, it's unusual. I don't think that I've encountered in my career. I've had hired hit cases, but one in which two people are conspiring to kill the exes of the other, which is what we have here. And of course, the one woman, McDaniels, who was a co-conspirator, who was also charged with this crime, wound up taking a nosedive off a high tower building, killing herself prior to the trial, abandoning her co-conspirator lover, Mr. Jacobs, to face the music alone now in court. And you were saying before, Jennifer, and I agree, this is compelling testimony she's giving about prior acts that led up to this incident. And I think she's doing a great job as a witness. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think she is. By all means, so far, she seems like a very credible witness. We'll see on cross if the defense is able to pick away at that credibility. But right now, she seems like she's professional, she's authoritative, and she just has a presence about her that seems reliable.
Yeah, no, I agree. One other thing that's interesting to me about this case is, I've always found in these cases is, what is the price tag exactly? So how much is it worth? How much will you pay in order to kill people? And I've literally seen people killed for things like a couple of vials of crack, in exchange of $100. This one allegedly is over $20,000, and two expensive watches for the killing of two people. And we see a clip right now, in addition to that fact, there's something about this defendant. There's something about his look, his demeanor. I know this isn't really straight out law, but the jurors are looking at him, and there's just something that's very arrogant about this guy's look. Do you agree with me, or am I making too much of that?
I do. He's got a certain look. And already in opening statements from the state, we heard about how he's aggressive and he's obsessive. So I think that the state already planted that seed. And so one's inclined now to look at this individual and maybe have these preconceived notions and impressions, which will color them from here on out. We do know that he's a medical school graduate. For some people, that may come along with the perception that he has a God complex. One of the witnesses we heard from earlier today said that he felt like he was talking to the devil himself when he met Leon Jacob, which is pretty compelling stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, excellent analysis, Jennifer. I appreciate it. Let's go back to this fascinating testimony of this victim, because you know what? She's getting her day in court, because sitting right across from her is the defendant as she's testifying piece by piece, bit by bit, breaking it down, trying to ensure he pays a price. And I think he will. Wow. Jennifer, I mean, it's really great police work, by the way, may I add, about staging this. And you could tell the minute she's looking at these pictures and talking about what she went through in order to feign and fake. Look at her, tied up, gagged, and you know, it's got to be really traumatic. Just her looking at it, she started to cry.
Right. It's all staged. It's all fake. We know that. She knows that. But nonetheless, it's all too real. It's still very traumatic for this young woman, which is perfectly understandable. I mean, she was moments away from being killed, possibly, and this really makes that all too real for her.
Yeah, what do you think about the idea that the cops are actually having her text during this? And maybe you could break this down a little bit to explain why it is that what they're doing is pretty sophisticated.
Yeah, well, they're trying to have her reach out to Leon, saying that she loves him, she wants to get back together with him. I imagine because they want to see what he has to say about it, and it would go to his intent, is what he responds. And so she said, I believe, that he didn't respond at all. So I'm interested to hear on cross if there's any follow-up related to that.
Yeah, this is fascinating. It's the Leon Jacobs trial. We were talking before, this guy's got this look and this background, this education, his failure to abide by court orders, the hiring of, or trying to hire people to kill his ex and working with his girlfriend at the time. In 15 seconds or less, I think this is going to obviously be the most compelling witness in the case. I think she's going to be hard to cross.
Especially considering that she's a victim of domestic violence. So the defense has to be very careful here. They certainly want to challenge her credibility, but at the same time, they need to be, gentle with her.
We'll get to the rest of that on the other end of the break. Jennifer, thank you. Jennifer Schuster, I was just had you on there a minute ago. I had to go real quick to that break, but you were making an excellent point about cross-examination. We got about a minute. Tell me a little bit about how you would approach it as a defense lawyer.
I think that they just have to be incredibly measured because we do have a victim of domestic violence here. So they're not going to focus, at least I don't think they'll focus on attacking Megan per se, but I think they'll go after the police and use Megan as a vehicle for that because Megan is working very closely with the police. And we know that one of the defense tactics here is to say that the police are the ones that initiated these conversations about murder and killing, not the defendant. So Megan will be able to possibly testify to that on cross.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's not really a case about her. She's a victim, and she's obviously giving great victim impact testimony about what occurred prior that led up to this plot and this plan. But she's not somebody you really have to hammer or go after. I would agree with that. But I got a couple of questions for you. I want to cross-examine you. It's been a while. I talk about cross-examination. The guys on the Law&Crime network that are in the chat room, they want to see me take somebody to town, and I'm going to do it right here, Jennifer Schuster, out of Chicago. I need you to answer this question. What is the only network that has got gavel-to-gavel coverage that you know of in the whole world?
The Law&Crime Network.
All right, my next question, and please, yes or no. We don't need long explanations. Where is the only network where you can have expert hosts, an expert like yourself, talk about that gavel-to-gavel coverage?
The Law&Crime Network.
Excellent. And my last and final question to you is, where can you find a New Jersey attorney that is a host wearing a blue tie, that is the most exceptional host in any network in the United States of America? What network would they be on?
This is a tough one, but I'm going to go with the Law&Crime Network.
You know what? Listen, you are an honest, truthful, straightforward, wonderful witness. Thank you so much for those excellent answers. You're right. And we were just talking about cross-examination, Jennifer Schuster. I think you're right on the money that they're not going to go hard after her. Let's go take a look at it. Thank you for playing my little cross-examination game. Jennifer Schuster, let me ask you a question. This guy reminds me of, remember that painting guy from years ago? It's like, if you want to put a tree here, just put a tree. It's Bob Ross, I've been told.
Yeah, I remember him.
I really like this lawyer. BB314 in the chat room is asking me if I'm on espresso. No, I'm not on espresso. This is just me. But that guy calms me into like a lullingness. I like his style. What about you?
Yeah, well, I think it's effective for what he's trying to accomplish. I don't know if he's necessarily fully achieving it with the jury, but he's calm and he's measured. And when he's reading these emails from someone the state is trying to portray as a monster, it serves the defendant well if the person reading those emails is calm and cool and collected.
Yeah, definitely. He's got that just like that Andy Griffith thing going for him. I think it's really excellent. He's doing a good job with what he's got. Listen, folks, we're going to take a break, and on the other end of that, we're going to come back with Jennifer with more testimony. Well, Jennifer, we're back with Leon Jacobs' trial, and I got to tell you, you got to be impressed with the Law and Crime staff, the producers, everybody, the sound people, the audio-visual people, and Eddie, my man, of all things cool at the Law and Crime Network, is the guy who came up with the Bob Ross in my earpiece within seconds of me saying it commentary. Good for you, Eddie. We love having you on. Great job. We're going to go back to this cross-examination and listen to the attorney, also known as Bob Ross, jokingly, in his smooth demeanor with respect to cross-examining this woman who's gone through such trauma. Welcome back, Law and Crime Network. Sometimes things just get frozen in time, Jennifer Schuster, and that means me and you have got to come back on and we got to talk about the lawyer, also known as Bob Ross. I just really like this guy's style. I don't know why I keep harping on it. I think he's just very soothing, very calm. He's making the points he needs to make. And we talk about this often, the spectrum of lawyering. Some people are very, very passionate and aggressive. They're probably more typical of my style. Some people are a little laid back. But you can perform the same effective job on each side and somewhere in between. What do you think of his lawyering style?
I like his style. I think in this instance, it's appropriate. I think being especially aggressive with someone like Megan, who just testified on direct about all these awful things happening to her, it's appropriate that we've got a defense attorney who's acting in a measured way.
Yep, I agree. And I think that you did a little bit of research on him. This isn't his first rodeo either, is it?
No, this is considered a high-profile defense attorney. He's represented some prominent criminal defendants, Andrea Yates, also Clara Harris, who I believe was another physician who ran over her husband. So, presumably, we don't know for sure. This is a defense team that has a fair amount of resources, that has done, perhaps some consulting. With, whether it's jury consultants or image consultants, we don't know, but we do know from this defense attorney's background that that's typically the type of thing that he does do.
Yeah, and you know what? We're going to take a break in a short while, but I would like to at some point in time get back with you and talk to you about that jury consulting piece to it, because you definitely see that happening more and more in the legal profession, and I'd love to know if you've ever done it and what your thoughts are with it. I've had a couple of occasions with it. You're at the Law and Crime Network, gavel to gavel coverage. You got to love all the trials that we're picking. And Jennifer, thank you so much for your time and your great expert opinion. Welcome back, Law and Crime Network. We are dealing with the Leon Jacobs trial. Jennifer Schuster's here from Chicago, an attorney who's been kind enough to be with me and give me some great legal analysis for most of this afternoon. I'll be here till 3 o'clock. Jennifer, so we were talking about the cadence of the lawyer and some of the high-profile cases that he's handled, and we kind of went into the jury consulting thing. Some lawyers are doing that more and more. We never really did do that. My jury consultants were always the people in the bars, the restaurants, my family, my friends, anyone I could speak to about the case, but it is becoming a very highly specialized profession.
Sure. I mean, when the stakes are high, people will do anything they can, including hiring prospective jurors, these consultants, to weigh in on the defendant's image, the image of the defense attorney, because if the jurors don't like the defense attorney, that's not going to bode well either for the defendant.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's critical that even if you have a really difficult client to represent and there's a lot of evidence against you, is that you at least build that relationship with the jury so that they don't hate you. And hopefully that will be something that will transfer over to the client as well. Let's go back into the courtroom and watch, also known as Bob Ross's style. I love it. So see what our viewers think about that. Welcome back, Law&Crime Network. I'm with Jennifer Schuster. She's got to go. She's been an excellent guest for the last 2 hours. What do you think? I'm going to give you a final word before we go to a break. What do you think is going on there with all those emails?
So on the cross, the defense read a series of emails, presumably the most innocuous emails from the defendant to the witness, trying to portray the defendant is not that bad, at least not the monster that the state's portraying him to be. And on redirect, the state's coming back swinging and saying, hey, I'll show you emails from the defendant to this witness. How about this one where the subject line is order of protection and the defendant is emailing the witness? Rule number one, if you've got an order of protection or a no contact order against you, don't contact that victim.
I think great analysis. It's not making them look good. Jennifer, thank you so much for being on. Sorry to cut you a little short. We're going to go to a break and come back on the other end. Law&Crime Network, gavel to gavel.